Okay, so the world's economy is hitting the brakes hard. Forecasts are looking pretty gloomy just about everywhere you look. But there's one country that seems to be playing by its own rules: Indonesia. We're going to explore exactly how it's navigating these tough global headwinds and what that could mean for its future. Let's dive right in.
So this really brings us to the big question, right? As all the major economies around the world start to slow down, can Indonesia actually defy the odds and keep its momentum going? That's the core puzzle we're going to unpack over the next few minutes.
To really get a handle on Indonesia's story, we've got to look at the big picture first. The global stage that it's performing on.
Check this out. The world's top economic scorekeepers, we're talking the IMF, the World Bank, the OECD, they're all singing the same tune. Global growth is slowing down. But here's where it gets really interesting when you look at the numbers. The real story is the gap. Developed nations are growing at about half the pace of developing ones. That signals a huge shift in where the world's economic engine is really running.
And this slide, wow, it gives us a really clear picture of how everyone reacted. The table on the right shows a pretty clear trend. By 2025, to fight off that slowdown, most central banks, including Indonesia's, started cutting interest rates. It was like everyone decided to hit the gas pedal at the same time to try and jumpstart their economies.
Now this chart tells a tale of 4 different economies using something called the PMI. Just think of it as a quick pulse check for a country's manufacturing sector. If the number's over 50, things are expanding. You can see the US is staying pretty strong, China's bouncing back, but the UK is clearly struggling. But the one we're really watching is Indonesia. It takes a dip, sure, but then boom, a really impressive strong rebound in late 2025.
Okay, so with that kind of shaky global scene as our backdrop, let's zoom right in on Indonesia and unpack that story of resilience.
5.11%. Let that sink in for a second. In a world where everything's slowing down, that was Indonesia's economic growth in 2025. I mean, that number is a testament to some serious resilience, letting it blow past a lot of its neighbors and global peers.
So what's under the hood? What's actually powering this growth engine? Well, as you can see right here, over half of Indonesia's entire economy is driven by people at home. Household spending on everyday stuff. It's the absolute foundation of the economy, followed by investment, which makes up almost another third.
But, and there's always a but, isn't there? There's a catch. That main engine, consumer spending, it's holding steady, but it's not really accelerating. And to make things just a little trickier, government spending actually went down in the first half of 2025. So if your main drivers are just kind of idling, you have to ask, where is the next bit of growth going to come from?
And this leads us to a really fascinating puzzle, a kind of paradox that's happening right now inside Indonesia's banking world. It's a real head-scratcher. I mean, how big of a puzzle is it? Well, the National Banking Association, Perbanas, they dedicated their entire 2026 Outlook report to it. The title on the cover really says it all: Navigating Slower Demand for Credits.
The chairman of Perbanas, Harry Gunardi, he puts it super clearly. The problem isn't a lack of money. The banks are sitting on cash. The real issue, he says, is on the demand side. Businesses and regular people just aren't asking to borrow it.
It's this classic paradox, right? On one side, the banking system has tons of liquidity, plenty of cash ready to go, but on the other, you've got low credit demand. Think of it like a giant reservoir that's completely full of water, but nobody's opening the tap to water their fields. That's the credit conundrum Indonesia's trying to figure out.
So that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If the usual engines are sputtering and nobody's taking out loans to build or buy new stuff, where on earth is that 5% growth actually coming from?
Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking. It's not coming from the usual places. The real explosive growth is happening in the arteries and veins of the economy, the movement of goods and people all across Indonesia's thousands of islands.
Get this, 8.78%. I mean, that's not just growth, that's an explosion. That was the growth rate for the transportation and warehousing sector in 2025. While other parts of the economy were just chugging along, logistics absolutely took off.
And to really see what that means, just look at this chart from the third quarter of 2025. The growth in transportation and warehousing just completely dwarfs the traditional heavy hitters of the economy, like manufacturing and agriculture. It's not even a close race. And, this isn't just some abstract number on a page. This is real stuff happening. It's the e-commerce package showing up at your door. It's the raw materials getting to factories. It's the food making its way to your local market. It's the actual physical pulse of the economy, and it is beating faster than ever before.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together.
what does this all mean for the road ahead in 2026? Let's try and get a sense of what might be coming.
So, the official forecast for 2026, well, it's cautiously optimistic. You could say it's hopeful, but with a big if attached. The experts at Paribas think double-digit credit growth is actually possible, but, and it's a big but, only if that credit puzzle gets solved. That means government spending and business activity have to finally kick into high gear and get demand going again.
All right, so let's do a quick recap of the big takeaways. 1. The global economy, it's slowing down, creating some major headwinds. 2. Indonesia's own domestic economy, it's holding up surprisingly well. 3. The biggest challenge at home is figuring out how to get people and businesses to start borrowing and spending again. And 4, and this is the big surprise, logistics has jumped onto the scene as this incredible, powerful new growth engine.
And that really leaves us with the big question for the future, doesn't it? We've seen that Indonesia is tough, and it's got this new, unexpected powerhouse in logistics. But in the face of all this global uncertainty and those challenges at home, will these new strengths be enough to navigate the choppy waters ahead and lock in a prosperous 2026? I guess only time will tell.